Rode has unveiled its successor to the popular, industry-leading Rodecaster Pro, which is a master for streaming and recording podcasts, and it's a device that we've never really seen before. And Rode has basically pioneered this whole mobile studio kind of thing, and they've spawned, not Rode, but by them releasing that, it spawned a few knockoffs. Tascam has one, it's probably the best one out of the competitors. Zoom has one, and there's probably a few more that I don't know off the top of my head. But with all this competition looming, being the first to market has put them in a little bit of a predicament, because the competitors obviously seen what they've done and they've improved in some cases. But Rode has clapped back. What Rode has done is they've announced the version 2 of the Rodecaster. The original so hugely versatile that many people adapted it for different use cases. So you had streamers using it, game streamers even using it, you had radio stations using it, musicians, obviously podcasts. We recorded songs using the Rodecaster, so we put the music onto a track and then we hit the track and the artist will freestyle straight over the track, and combine that with an ATEM Mini, you've got a portable workstation where you can switch your cameras, you can have your audio leveled, and you've just got a full-on production unit that is mobile. You can take it with you, pack it up in a couple of cases, and you're good to go. As with its predecessor, it's going to be both innovative, intuitive, and an exhaustive solution to recording and streaming, and just basically everything you're going to want to do, your workflow. The device is so customizable that no matter what your workflow is, it's going to be suitable. You can customize it in a way that will make it perfect for you. Now, we're going to get into that later on, but for now I want to talk about one of the biggest, cleanest, loudest upgrade between the two, and that is the new preamp. The whole device has been redesigned from the ground up with Rode's Revolution preamps. From my understanding is these preamps are as quiet as physically possible. So if you connect something like a FET head or cloud lifter, you're going to introduce noise into the signal. Let that sink in for a minute. Normally you use one of those, like a cloud lifter, to boost the gain of a mic, such as the SM7B, but if you use one of those, it's going to introduce sound. So the noise level of these preamps are like down here, even below, they're down here. It's next to non-existent. Not only that, they've got 76 decibels of gain. So that will be more than enough to power your most hungriest mic and be able to boost the signal to a usable level. So it's not only quieter than the original, but it's also louder than the original. So having this clean audio and loud gain, that comes at a cost. This has a RRP of $699 US. At the moment it's being listed at £699 in the UK as well, but I think that will come down once they give us an official price for the UK. The original can be had for anywhere between 350 to 400 on the used market, being sold anywhere between 450 to 500 pounds brand new. There's a little bit, I think it's $100 more in the States, and I'm gonna assume that it's gonna be another £100 in the UK. So that alone for me is enough to wipe the floor with the competitors. But that's not where the Rodecaster 2 stops dominating. The device has 3 USB-Cs. One is dedicated to power delivery, so you can run it off USB-C, so you can use a power bank to power the device as long as it's got an output of 30 watts. It comes with a 1.5 gigahertz quad-core audio engine with 24-bit depth. The noise floor is negative 131.5 decibels. That's how quiet it is. negative 131.5 decibels. One of the nice features about this device is channel 1 is the main channel. So you can have it set so if channel 1 speaks or there's input coming from channel 1, it will duck out all the other channels. So if there's people having an argument about something in say a podcast or discussing something, channel 1, who we're going to say is the presenter, the main presenter, that person's voice will come out on top of everyone else's, which is, you know, usually what the producers want. They want the host to be able to be the one who speaks the most. Another thing you can do is you can have one of the tracks, say for the music intro, and then as soon as you start talking, that will drop down the music and then you can turn it off. So there's so many different ways you can use this device. It's actually mind-blowing. I don't want to say it because I haven't had the chance to play with it with the final firmware, but it's mind-blowing how customizable this device potentially is. Now, if you just think about that for a minute, you can customize each of the tracks. You've got 6 physical channels and 3 virtual channels. Now those virtual channels, in the old one you had USB and you had Bluetooth, and you couldn't use those 2 channels for anything else. So they've eliminated those, and then they've added 3 virtual ones which you can program to anything, whether it be Bluetooth, it be USB, be PC, whatever, however you want to do it, you can do it. Rode really thought this through. I think what they've done is they've listened to the feedback of their users. Now another thing that I really liked about the Rodecaster Pro 2 was the screen. It was angled up a little bit more towards the user. So with the original, I found myself constantly leaning in just to have a look at the screen. With this one, you can sit comfortably with it there, and the screen is angled more towards you. So as you can see in the picture, the comparison is night and day. I want to talk a little bit more about the screen. I want to go back to the screen. The screen is slightly larger. It's a 5.5 inch screen. The display is better. It's a cleaner screen. It's got nicer colors. It's got haptic feedback, so you know what you're doing, and it just looks beautiful. It looks like a screen. It looks like the screen of a device that is the industry leader. And you know what? It is. And they've literally wiped the floor with all the other brands who've tried to step to them. They're the king of the hill. Everyone's hungry to get a piece of the action. And Rode just basically said, I'm the king of the hill. I'm sitting up here. When I'm hungry, I will eat. There's food. All of you coming up trying to take my throne, I'm just gonna eat you guys. That's what Rode has basically said. This is a real power move by Rode. So some streamers have one computer dedicated to streaming and one dedicated to gaming. Now the purpose of doing that is to maximize their gaming, their FPS, whatever it is. They need to maximize performance on the gaming machine. So the transcoding and everything else is done on the secondary machine. It doesn't have to be as powerful. Now you can connect the Rodecaster Pro 2 into both machines, and you can have the same mic go and you use that mic for your chat. So if you're talking to your teammates, you can use that mic, and then you can mute that channel from going into your live stream, if that makes sense. So while it picks it up for the stream, it doesn't pick it up for the other. So you can program which app, which computer gets, you know, and you can switch it between or something along those lines. I haven't had the chance to test that, but hopefully we'll be able to do that soon. Another thing that I really like, but I doubt that I would personally use, is the multi-jack. So they've got the combo inputs, so you can either plug in your XLR cable or a 1/4 inch cable. So they basically made it more accessible for musicians, so if they want to plug in their instruments they can do straight away. So how does this actually compare to the original? In terms of design, it's very similar. It looks quite clean. The colors are bright and vibrant, but regardless, the colors look pristine. Initially, when I first looked at it, I thought it looked a little bit toyish. It's starting to grow on me. It's still early days, but I can see it having a permanent place on my desk. So, as I mentioned, the Rodecaster Pro 2 is smaller, it's lighter, it's about 3 grams lighter, it's 45mm shorter in width, and 5mm longer in length, and 22mm taller in height, but that's mainly due to the screen popping up at an angle. Now, one of the big changes, the final big change that I'm really looking forward to, is the sound pads. So they've taken the sound pads out, which sounds bizarre, but they've replaced them with smart pads. Now, they are programmable pads, and they can send MIDI commands downstream. So for example, you can use it in your DAW, so for your music production, you can edit tasks or functions, or make a sound start by hitting that button in your program, which will then in turn go and work. The other thing you can do is send your commands to streaming software like OBS. So if you imagine you're streaming and you want to change your scene, you can do it all from the Rodecaster. So you don't necessarily need a Stream Deck to do things like that. You can do it straight from the Rodecaster, which is nice if you want to have less things around. If you're doing a live stream or a live podcast, you can start having a lot more customization, and it really depends on how you want your workflow to be. I keep coming back to workflow, but this is a powerhouse for production. So whether it's in a permanent studio or a mobile studio, it depends on how you want to use this device, and you can use it how you want depending on your workflow. So if you want to change your scenes with the Rodecaster Pro 2, you can. If you want to use a Stream Deck with it, you can. If you want to use the A10 Mini, you can. You can just combine it however you want it, program it however you want it, and make it work how you want it. So with the smart pads, what else can we look forward to? There's 64 programmable positions. So there's 8 pads, but you've got a left and right button. You can scroll through them to have a total of 64 programmable functions onto those pads. You can program sounds on them, MIDI controls and sound effects. You can do voice modifiers. You can make your voice sound deep and all this other stuff by using that device. So to sum up, basically your imagination is the limiting factor about what you can do with this device. What I really love about it is programmable. And I have a feeling that Rode is going to, with firmware updates, be able to program a whole lot more. They've updated the original with hundreds of updates and basically pushed that hardware as far as it will go. And with this, they've left ample space to upgrade it via firmware to add features in the future. So that's really good. That's one of the main things I look for. If I buy some hardware, I know I can update it. That's the best thing. The last thing you want to do is spend a lot of money on the device, and a competitor comes out and your device is rendered useless. At least with this, they are the top, they are the market leaders, they are the originals, and they've just showed us with this, they are the dons, and they can update it in the future to make it work. The original was a revolutionary device. It spawned a lot of copies and knockoffs, and none of them even came close to the original. And the only device that has knocked the original Rodecaster Pro off its throne was this one, the Rodecaster Pro 2. It's not just about connecting XLR mics. You can connect USB mics, or Rode USB mics I should say. So for now you can only add Rode USB mics. I don't know if they're going to allow other brands to use that functionality, and you can have profiles for all Rode mics, but there's one profile they've added which it makes sense because this is a legendary device, and they've added a profile for the Shure SM7B. And if you don't know, that mic is also legendary. It's basically the Rolls Royce of mics. especially for podcasts. And this device is the Rolls Royce for audio interfaces, recorders, or I should say, as I said, for portable studio recorders. That's essentially what this device is. It's a portable studio recorder, and it's the Rolls Royce of portable studio recorders. So is it worth the upgrade? Well, if you have the original one and you don't need all these extra features, you don't need the noise floor, you don't need the extra gain, then no, you don't need to update. The original is still a fantastic piece of kit. And if you don't have one, I would say stretch your budget, if your budget allows, to get the newer one, the Rodecaster Pro 2, because that just will have more life in it. I think it's going to be around for at least 5 years. And you know, when you spend that money, you want to be able to make your money back. And if you have a device that's going to be able to be updated for all that time, you're going to be able to recuperate your money. I've pre-ordered this device, so make sure you hit that like and sub button and follow for more. And when the final firmware gets released, you'll know, and check out the video when it comes out. Peace.